Hello again, YouTube. On this episode, well, this video, we're gonna go over all the things needed to keep an aquarium healthy and safe. Everything from the cycling process to this one is completely cycled. I have quite a few fish in it. I'm still slowly adding fish so the biofilter can keep up with the amount of fish, because when I added my gourami and my 5 neons, I had a little bit of nitrites, not quite 0.25, but it was almost 0.25, about 0.1. So, a little high, but the first thing I'm going to start off is you need something to dechlorinate your water, something to condition your water. The best I have found, I do a lot of research. I have several. I have API, I have Top Fin. These are my 3. I have API water conditioner, works pretty well. Gets rid of everything better than Top Fin does. But the best, by far, is Chem Prime. $12 for that bottle. And this bottle treats 2,500 gallons. Thing is about this stuff is, removes chlorine and chloramine. Also, if you have high ammonia, nitrite, or nitrate levels, detoxifies ammonia, nitrite, and nitrate. I know that if you have high nitrate levels, you're supposed to do a water change, but if for some reason you can't, add some Prime until you can. It works for 48 hours. So, water conditioner, Prime. No question. I've done my research. You can look, but I guarantee you won't come across anything better. And secondly, the cycling of the tank. A lot of people don't realize when you put a fish in a fish bowl, they're living in their own waste. There's ammonia. So one thing you absolutely have to have, and I see a lot of people without these, and it's like, what are you, stupid? An API water test kit. This thing has over 800 tests in it for $21. The strips that has 25 tests for nitrites, nitrates, alkalinity, hardness, and pH, plus ammonia, $27.99. Only 25 tests. Over 800 and scientifically accurate. It's what I've used ever since the beginning. You have to have this to watch the ammonia spike. Then, as ammonia is present, beneficial bacteria will grow and eat the ammonia and turn it into nitrites. That is, of the cycle, the shortest. You will see your nitrite spike to dangerous, lethal levels. That's why you need extremely hardy fish if you decide to do if you decide to cycle with fish. Most likely you need to get like a beta, something with a labyrinth organ. A labyrinth organ is a very rudimentary lung. So it basically allows the fish to breathe oxygen. So this, you can't care for fish correctly without watching their water levels, their pH, the ammonia, the nitrite, and the nitrates. Also the hardness and alkalinity, which you can also call your water provider and they will tell you everything. Secondly, you need to buy, you're given in starter filters, little filter things like this. I cut a corner off because I wanted some carbon for my corner filter and then my little 5-gallon. And that's what these are. These little things are 10 and 15 milliliter droppers that one I use to hold water and put it in the vials. It's a lot easier to suck the water out and then put it in the vial instead of trying to use the vial and just get the right amount and possibly contaminating the tank with the chemicals. So it's cool to have this. Also with like a 5-gallon tank, it's good to have a dropper because like the Prime, 5 milliliters treats 50 gallons. Another thing you really need to protect your fish is There's a lot of different remedies. This is just straight ick remedy, but I prefer Paragard, or if you're not wanting to add any invertebrates, meaning snails, anything without a spine, you can use what's called cupramine. It adds copper. Anything without a spine will die. That's what I'm doing with my 20 gallon. I'm turning my 20 gallon into a hospital tank, so whenever I get a fish, as soon as I get them, they go in the 20 gallon, and whatever is on them will get killed by the cupramine. But until then, Paragard by Seachem works very well. Ick Remedy by Marine Land, all it does is turn your tank blue, does not get rid of ick. So, waste of money. You can see that it's still more than, it's about half full. But this is almost gone. Cycling of the tank. And I have used a couple different products. 2 to be exact. Stability. I learned to use stability without fish in the tank. You add stability for 8 days without fish in the tank, and then basically what it does is it adds supplemental bacteria. It doesn't add the same bacteria that grows naturally, but it adds supplemental bacteria that does the same thing that the natural bacteria does, but you have to wait 8 days without fish. My favorite is Tetra Safe Start. Damn. Within 24 hours, I use this. I will admit the ammonia-eating bacteria does die because it needs oxygen, and as soon as you put this cap on, you shut off the oxygen. But the nitrite-eating does not need oxygen to survive. So the nitrites will immediately drop to 0, so all you have to do is worry about ammonia. Love this stuff. I've used this on every one of my tanks, and every one of my tanks was cycled within 7 days. Like I said, when it comes to media, you are going to need to buy some extra media. This is just some blue poly pad that I use. And these are Fluval water scrubbers. They're really dense, so they will catch the smallest particle. That's why this tank's so clear, because I have 2. One thing I will really advise is, with a starter kit, you're not given that great of a pump. All it is a pump where the water passes through. The Aqua Clear. This thing, I believe, is $35. Now, the way it works is the water is sucked up through the tube, goes down, and then it's forced through the bottom and then up through the top. It comes with a sponge, it comes with carbon, and it comes with your bio media. It comes with Biomax. Best hangover back filter there is. Even professionals say that. It is just like a canister filter, but a hangover back version. The cool thing about the power head is, if you want more water flow, the AC75 impeller fits. So you can put the AC75 impeller in, run it at 50%, and still have the same water flow. So, very cool. Also, you can see the basket where you put the sponge in, then the carbon. I personally enjoy to use, I like to use, it's called Zeocarb by Fluval. It has carbon and I think it's called zeolite clay. It lowers ammonia. It won't do like drastic drops of ammonia, but it'll keep your ammonia steady wherever it's at. If that's 5 parts per million or 0. Of course you're going to need your net, and hopefully you have a scrubber to clean the glass, because algae and all kind of stuff will grow. Of course you are going to need carbon. If you don't have carbon, it's going to stink. You don't have to leave the carbon in, but if it starts stinking, pop some carbon in, the stink will go away. Because the stink is the dissolved waste products of all the fish. Make sure you have some type of gallon container. I have 5 milk jugs that I use that I have completely cleaned out with no detergents, just water, running water in them for like 5 or 10 minutes. So when I put water in them, I know there's no milk going in there. I clean them very well. one thing you're going to need, if you have certain type of fish, is aquarium salt. You can use kosher salt, not as safe. Aquarium salt is made for aquariums. I actually need to put some in this one, and my 20 gallon has goldfish at the moment. It's cycling. But this will help with ick. This will help retain oxygen. It will also help retain carbon dioxide until it leaves the water. Of course, you're going to need an air stone and an air pump. This is the AC4 Top Fin 4000, I believe. It's meant for a 50-gallon tank, and this is a 40-gallon, so it puts out plenty of air. And I have it going to a 4-way gang valve, so both sides of the pump are going. And then I have two tubes that aren't being used, and I'm going to go to a bigger pump, and I'm going to put some air walls in it instead of these, which don't do a lot of bubbles. But air stone or bubble wall. You need to add the oxygen, and it gets rid of, it basically helps with gas exchange a lot more. Actual chemicals, if you have high pH, low pH, you're going to need something to counter that. In my hand I have pH up. My pH down is actually in the kitchen at the moment, I believe, because I had just done you never clean the entire bottle. You clean half. And then a couple days later, maybe clean a filter. You never do all of it at once because your biosystem will crash. And then you start all over. Make sure you have something to measure. I have something that goes from 1 to 2.5 to 5 to 10 milliliters. Food. Don't go cheap. Would you want to eat cheap food every day of your life? Fluval. Ingredients: herring meal, krill, dried potato, wheat flour, shrimp meat, dried garlic, dried kelp, mussel meat, dried pea, turmeric, choline, choline DL. You get the idea. It also has a lot of niacin, vitamin B supplement, biotin, vitamin D, vitamin A supplement, all the vitamins you need. I was going to suggest to get a Marine Land also makes a pH balance and something that keeps your pH at 7.6 to 7.8. Well, the fish I have like a more acidic, so I have to keep it below 7. And so that's why I have to have the pH down. But they also make something that is vitamins and minerals that you can put in the water. One thing about fish is they are constantly drinking and peeing. Constantly. So, okay. And like I said, make sure you have things to measure. This is for the salt. It's I've been told 1 tablespoon per 10 gallons. Lastly, tap water dechlorinator, more water conditioner, and make sure you got to clean your rocks. And you can actually see I just did my 40 gallon. A little bit of dirt in there. Not a lot. They keep it pretty clean, especially the grummy. But that's pretty much it. Those are the things that you really need. The things that I would say the most that you need is, of course, the food. Gotta have this. You don't have to buy another filter. You don't have to buy carbon if you choose not to, if you can live with the stink. You don't have to buy scrubber pads. You don't have to buy this. I just suggest to do this because every one of my filters, I put this kind of stuff in, and I buy Biomax for every one, so there will be a good biological system in it. Even my little 5-gallon with a GF 400 15-gallon corner filter has Polypad, a Fluval filter, and 30 30 gallons worth of biomax. You do need a net because you got to be able to catch your fish if they get sick. That comes with the thing usually. You need the chemicals to get the water correct. And you have to have the water dechlorinator, so I'm going to put Prime over here because Prime is a must. You got to have this. Got to have an air stone. Got to have an air pump. Don't like stability. You can, if you have hardy enough fish, you can go without safe start, but you'll be waiting for over a month. Don't need aquarium salt. You can use kosher salt. It's not as safe. Don't have to have one of these brushes. You can make one. You do need a measuring cup. So, measuring cup's over here. Always keep your old filter material. You never know what it may come in handy for. Lastly, water conditioner. We already covered that with the Prime. So, basically everything you really need is the tank, the rocks, all the green stuff. Water conditioner, pH up and down, food, measuring devices, an air pump and an air stone and some air line, and preferably a gang valve so you can control the air. Something to get the fish if one does come down sick. You want to isolate it from the other fish. You can go buy a 5-gallon, small 5-gallon tank and move some rocks over, and it'll cycle within about a week, especially if it's a cycle tank. You need this because you got to be able to clean the rocks from all the waste and all the extra food, because some food and all their waste and all waste, some food hits the bottom. Never feed your fish more food than they can eat than about, I've noticed, about 4 to 5 minutes, because some fish just don't get to the food as fast as others. But that's basically it. The biggest thing I'm going to push is get the API Freshwater Master Test Kit. It's going to let you know. This came out of my 20-gallon. You can see that my ammonia is through the damn roof. But I put some Prime in last night and also some Safe Start. So I have to wait 48 hours before I can test the water. And you can also see that my nitrites are up. That, for regular fish, is lethal. Goldfish are very strong fish. They can live in water all the way down to freezing. And you can even freeze them, unthaw them, and then they'll come back to life. Well, that's it. This is a tutorial of what you're really going to need to start a tank. I didn't know I was going to need all this when I first started. I just had a couple bottles. About $500 later, I have 4 tanks and all these chemicals. And probably the best food. I mean, they absolutely love this food. I give this to all these fish. These are all tropical fish. My gourami that I have in my bedside is a little 5-gallon. Everybody says a gourami needs up to a 10-gallon tank. I'm sorry, but I have a dwarf neon and striped gourami, I believe it's called. The camera person is the one that knows more about the fish. I know more about the water chemistry. She does the fish, I do the water chemistry and the medicating. But she has a beta. It all started with 1 beta fish and a 1-gallon tank. And it has grown from that to having a 40-gallon, a 20-gallon, and 2 5-gallons. Well, I don't know how much time I have left, so I'm just going to cut it there. I'm also going to say, get some droppers if you have a smaller tank, because it's really hard to use those. With these, find out how many drops 1 milliliter is. Once you do that, that's when you figure out how many drops. If you can do math, you can figure it out. Well, I guess that's it for this one. Peace.